Hi-ho, everybody. Welcome to...
Hey, man.
Welcome to the Sweet 16 episode of
Hey, man.
Nice Kiss Shirt.
It's 16.
16!
Yeah.
So clean!
16.
Okay.
Let's get to drinking.
Yeah, enough of the foolishness. Now on to the alcohol. Y'all remember from a few episodes back, that's the kind of liquor Papa likes. What's the Catman's favorite color? Nuclear green. Cheers to you on Sweet 16. Thanks for watching, as usual. And what do we say? Watching, listening, all of that. Thanks for absorbing this episode of
Hey, man. Nice Kiss Shirt.
I'm going to try to tee you up on that a little better next time. Cheers to you.
Keep doing it. What's on the agenda?
So, as you know, or don't, for a first-time watcher, it's all about rock and roll all night.
And journal every day.
It's a year-long guide.
Celebrating the fun of being a Kiss fan.
Yes, indeed. Brought to you by It's All For You, Demon. Go to his channel.
It's All For You, Demon.
On every Friday, Rick Howard posts a new episode full of nostalgia, dogs, and Kiss. As of this taping, happy birthday, Pee-wee. We love you. If you don't have the book, please go to Amazon, support Rick's endeavor. It's what we do here every week, 7 questions at a time. We're going to jump right in. I must admit, I scoured my own Kiss museum, as scattered as it is, to try to find the answer to April 15th. And I was not able to find this little, I wouldn't even call it I guess an essay, whatever they make you write when you're like in 3rd grade. But I'm going to try to put up a graphic. I'll hopefully find it before I post this episode. But April 15th is labeled See You in Your Dreams. What was the most bizarre Kiss dream you've ever had? Describe it. Have you ever had a dream about Kiss?
Probably, but I don't remember it.
Yeah, it wasn't in depth. And I probably wouldn't remember mine either. This one was way back in 78. And my best friend at the time, Nite Vlog. If you're out there, hey, Nate. Keep on rocking. Let's see. I'll save the backstory on Nite Vlog and Sam Reynolds and those kids for when. I'm sure it'll apply to a future question. But the Kiss dream that I had, I woke up the next day and wrote a paper entitled Me and Nate Meet Kiss. Simply, Me and Nate Meet Kiss. And it was about, me and my 3rd grade best friend doing that. Not much else to say because I can't remember the dream. I mean, my God, how many years ago was that? But needless to say, it probably just involved us going to school and then to the auditorium and then finding out that it was actually a Kiss concert and not just an assembly, and Kiss was there and we met Kiss. I can only imagine that that's what it was, but hopefully I can find that and it'll be entertaining for y'all. Moving on rather quickly to April 16th. Before we get into April 16th, maybe I should get tight on the sequence again and address what we're wearing. Powie's got a repeat.
I got a reboot, redone, redid, same one from The Dodger knockoff thing.
Detroit Tigers Kiss shirt. And I've got the Freedom to Rock 2016 parking lot shirt. I'll show you the back in a graphic, but
It's the best.
it's because I don't feel like doing a spin. But yeah, it's, you know, it's like all parking lot shirts. They usually have some little bit of weirdness that makes them cool. So yeah, that was like a short Lost Cities tour, if you will, just like a summer North American bit that I saw at Saginaw Civic Center, which is now called Dow Events Center. About a half an hour away from here in Saginaw, Michigan. Saginaw, Michigan. April 16th asks, make a list of every concept album you can think of. Next, write all the reasons Music from the Elder is a better concept album. All right, that's a tall order, I would say.
Tall order.
So what'd you come up with?
Well, my concept albums, I came up with Frank Zappa, Freak Out, which is possibly the first concept album. Also, possibly one of the first double albums.
It was, if I remember correctly, Freak Out was recorded around the same time that Pet Sounds was. Pet Sounds gets all the love in terms of a concept, in terms of like new rock, you know, and all of that. But man, like it and Freak Out are siblings in that, you know, they, it also, I should say, Pet Sounds gets a lot of the credit for inspiring Paul McCartney and therefore Sgt. Pepper's.
Which was my next one.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, so there's Sgt. Pepper's, the fictional band, their characters, they can explore musical horizons that they wouldn't normally be. You know, this wouldn't sound like the Beatles. They just had the freedom to do whatever they wanted. The Who, Tommy, David Bowie, Ziggy Stardust, and the Spiders from Mars. Pink Floyd, The Wall. Excuse me. Queensryche, Operation Mindcrime, and Green Day, American Idiot.
Nice, nice.
So those are mine.
Well, just to pick on the ones that I'm unfamiliar with.
I don't know much about them.
Green Day, American Idiot.
Supposedly, okay, it's like three friends. I don't know all of it. There's a character called Jesus of Suburbia, and that's like
one of the tracks,
one of the songs. And I don't know the whole particulars of American Idiot. If anybody else does, let me know, because I was already off Green Day by this.
At any rate, it seems like more of a concept of like what I consider a concept album to be is like a stronger narrative, you know, that has like a character arc and a, you know, sort of a plot to it. And like another one of the ones you mentioned, Ziggy Stardust, I've heard that a lot, that's described as a concept album.
So what I got from it is he's an alien who comes to Earth to teach about peace and love, but he also is a rock star, and he gets caught up in the excesses of rock stardom, and through his, or not through his message, but he ends up dying from being a rock star.
Rock and roll suicide.
Rock and roll
you know,
suicide.
And I have read a bit about that was kind of interesting. That supposedly before he gave it to Mott the Hoople, before they recorded it, he wanted to put all the young dudes on Ziggy as like a final song, like a wake or an epitaph.
Yeah.
That like all the young dudes were like the pallbearers for Ziggy Stardust. So that's kind of
that makes sense.
You know, it's like, so all the young dudes are the ones, you know, carrying, you know, they were Ziggy's fans, you know, they were the ones that, you know, he speaks of in the song that were just like completely knocked out by this alien dude. But it ended up not being, you know, it ended up being a tune for Mott, and the rest was history. I got a little deeper. I have a narrower definition, I guess, of what concept albums are. Like I said, I like a more clear plot line and narrative, whatever. I've got The Wall, Pink Floyd, Genesis, Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, Tommy, of course, also Operation Mindcrime, Village Green Preservation Society, and Arthur, Rise and Fall of the British Empire by the Kinks. Village Green, it doesn't hang together as coherently. Even Arthur is kind of loose. It's just loosely based on Ray and Dave's brother-in-law, I think.
Mm-hmm. I don't know anything about
Arthur was a carpet layer that was married to, if you know the song, Rosie, Won't You Come Home? Anyway, long story short, they're both supposedly concept albums. There was a couple other Kinks albums that were loose concepts, but Quadrophenia by The Who, little stronger as a concept album. 2112 by Rush, a much tighter example of a concept. That's got a narrative. It's right there in the lyrics. They're printed on the gatefold of the album. Joe's Garage by Frank Zappa.
Great.
It's a great album. It's the whole story. Man, you feel like you've gone on a journey by the time you listen to all three acts.
Watermelon and Easter egg.
And I mean, and they're, and think about that as like as the sort of the same kind of like epitaph, funeral processional vibe that All the Young Dudes has, which is why I want to have Watermelon played at my funeral, or my wake, as it were. If I don't outlive all y'all bastages. So yeah, Joe's Garage, it's a solid concept album. Southern Rock Opera by Drive-By Truckers. It's kind of, it's based...
Jason Isbell.
It's based on, I'm not sure, was he in the band at that point?
I think so, but I
think he was. I think he was, but it's based on the Skinner plane crash. That's a really good one. Skylarking by XTC. I feel like it's basically based on life. It's the seasons of life. Spring, summer, autumn, autumn and winter. I love that. That's one of my... I have, in fact, seasonal obsessions, and that's every spring. Matter of fact, I've been listening to Skylarking pretty hard lately. Jesus Christ Superstar. I mean, that's a rock out. It's, very akin to Tommy, and we all know who that's about. From the Inside by Alice Cooper. Chronicles his stint in, I don't know if it was Betty Ford or if it was a place like Betty Ford for alcohol rehab. And he wrote all the songs with Bernie Taupin based on people and experiences that he had in the Nuthatch. Six Wives of Henry VIII by Rick Wakeman, which is very obviously about the Six Wives of Henry VIII.
There's a musical about that now called Six.
What, really?
Yeah, not Rick Wakeman based, but
I was going to say
Six Wives of Henry VIII. It's called Six.
Yeah, there's a lot of neat factoids, and I could that his life, his married life especially, would lend itself well to that. Jeff Wayne's War of the Worlds, based on War of the Worlds. Got some of the Moody's on it. It's another very clear concept album. And finally, Maggots by Plasmatics, dystopian horror story. So that's my list. Next, it says for the... Sorry, what?
Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to segue to the part 2 of the question now that we've, exposed? Kiss exposited, my favorite home video from Kiss. Next, Write All the Reasons Music from the Elder is a Better Concept Album. And I can't do it. And I love The Elder. I do. I really do. But for the same reason that I exclude a lot of supposed concept albums from a list like this, even the Kinks ones that I put down are loose. I love Arthur. I love Village Green, but it's just because it's got good songs on it. And there are good songs on The Elder. But just contrasting, you know, the original Japanese or European track sequence with the US, it was just kind of, the whole thing was just kind of botched. It was so much so that it disappointed its creators. You know, they make excuses about it. You know, Bob was all coked up. It was this and that. It was a hard time for Kiss. I like it because I like all kinds of different music. I like prog rock, and I like when bands take left turns, and it was a definite left turn for Kiss. The downside of that is it lost them a lot of fans. But as far as like hanging together with the narrative, and plus, I mean, the narrative is a little generic. It's not as fleshed out as it could be. You know, the you know, basically the boy, you know, goes out into the world, you know, man versus world, you know, and grows up and faces a dark force, and you know, that's just, you know, I mean, how many times that's, yeah, it's Star Wars, it's the Odyssey, it's all of that, and it could have, that knife could have spent a lot more time getting sharpened, and for, you know, it didn't, and for that reason, I can't say it's a better concept album. It doesn't take away from my enjoyment of it. I just like those tunes. I like the weirdness of it. So, moving on to April 17th. What is the coolest picture of Ace Frehley? Why does this particular picture stand out for you?
I gotta say, it's the Alive 2 poster that we were talking about with the smoking guitar, and you know.
Oh yeah, the classic, the Ace poster, as shown here. I've got.
I don't know. There's other pictures of Ace that are real cool, where he's just like real heavy lidded eyes and stuff.
Yeah. Well, there's another one that's very similar, and I don't know if it was one of the individual posters. I feel like it was one of the 8x10s in one of my Army kits, but it was with him with the, you know, with the Les Paul. It was the same Smoky Paul from the same era, but it was like up to his face. It might have been from like 70s, early 77.
I think I know what you're talking about.
I'll post another graphic here. But I couldn't really narrow it down. There's a few that I really like a lot.
The Hotter Than Hell with half his face. That's pretty.
Yes,
cool.
that's one of the ones that I was going to post here, and then another one that I was going to post here is him in the purple jumpsuit with the silver Volino with the aluminum guitar.
Wow.
In the Chuck Taylors. I love that photo because he's not, first of all, he's not in a Kiss costume.
Yeah.
But yeah, the half a face one, I mean, he's in my favorite Ace costume, and it's crazy. I love the way he looks. It gets an honorable mention. I'm not going to include the photo, but the Barry Levine photo, The Spirit of 76, where he's so drunk that he's like, Gene's propping him up, you know, in the poster photo. That's pretty good. And the one other one that I thought of, see, the half face, the Volino guitar, and the first album. There's a particular outtake that I will post here that I love Ace with silver hair.
That's cool.
I wish that Ace, you know, it's unlike Peter's extra chin shit, whatever that is.
Totem pole.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. It does kind of have a Native American flair to it somehow, but I never thought about that before. But that's one thing from the first album that I wish would have persisted
Ace
beyond
with the
that
silver
shoe
hair,
was silver-haired Ace.
Yeah.
So I love any.
I always thought it was a different guy
And
because you don't have silver hair.
he does look a little. He does look a little different,
Mm.
much like you kind of a little bit of that Paul is dead mentality creeps in when you see pictures from Cadillac.
Wasn't it one of the kids told Gene that he did his makeup wrong?
At
Cadillac, I think. There's a picture of Gene sitting down with a little kid, and one of the kids told him, "Your makeup's on wrong. You didn't put the." It's just the little thing.
One of the little bat wings.
One of the little
missing
bat
or
wings is
whatever.
missing on your face or something. It's like, this kid.
Yeah, I'm so envious of those pictures because I'm like, those are the when I see him with those, it's like those kids are my age. Like I would have been one of them little rugrats, or like whenever I'd see a picture in like 16 with like Willie Ames or Adam Rich from Eight Is Enough, hanging out with Gene Simmons, and I'm like, why isn't that me? Because I'm not a cool little actor brat. Anyway, enough of my personal issues.
What day is it?
Yeah, those are. What day is it, man? It's April 18th. Oh man, this is another one. I'm gonna have to take a drink just to keep a straight face on this one, Rick. How can you even ask this question? I don't know. I think it's funny. I think it's cool. It's all for you, Demon, and his silly questions.
All for you, Demon.
Mm-hmm. List all the ways Kiss is better than all other rock bands.
No.
How do I love thee? Let me count the ways. This is a question that, as much as I wish I could go back and inhabit my 6-year-old mentality, I just can't do it. I've seen too much. I wish I could sort of teleport into that little kid and give you all the answers.
Why Kiss is better.
But they would be incoherent,
Mm-hmm.
I'd be talking like a 6-year-old, and I'd be like, and Gene's cool, and
he breathes fire,
and he spits fire, and his tongue, it's a cow tongue, and he's just, his wings fill up with blood, and then he's got so much blood he just has to spit it out every night, and I can't be that guy anymore. So the ways that Kiss is better than all other rock bands is that they look better in makeup, and
they work their ass off on stage.
And they work their ass off on stage, and they are superheroes. Genesis, any band I could name that's just off the top of my head. All these bands, I love so many different kinds of music. I love Johnny Cash. I love Gustav Mahler. But, they're not superheroes. There's not, we talked about Ziggy Stardust being space aliens. No, Kiss are space aliens. They were able to do that for a segment of the population. And I believe that to this day, they're still doing that. They're still making little kids of all ages feel like they're seeing something very special that transcends rock bands. So in that sense, they're better than all other rock bands because they allow you to really flex your imagination in non-musical ways.
They become a phenomenon.
There are Kiss phenomenon. So yes, that is as close as I can get to an honest answer to such a purposely tongue-in-cheek questions such as April 18th. So there you go. Moving on to April 19th. Kiss Animalize Live Uncensored, released on April 19th. Recorded at
Cobo Hall
in Detroit in 1984. So, to answer the question, who wins Kiss Animalize Live Uncensored or Van Halen's Live Without a Net, and why? There's your answer.
Because it's in Detroit.
For us,
it's Kiss.
For our,
in Detroit.
Yeah, it's to. I wasn't there. I didn't go. I was living in Missouri at the time.
I didn't.
But we have friends that were there. Shout out Darren Smith. I mean, that's what I should have done. Is probably like make a list of everybody that I know that was at the show, and that's one reason it's cooler, But apart from that,
he recorded it WLLZ.
Yeah, there was.
Recorded it.
I don't think.
I think it was simulcast that night.
I don't think that my buddy Nate, he sent me a tape, and it fit on a tape. So I don't know if to this day, I don't know if he didn't record the whole thing or if they didn't simulcast the whole thing. I don't have a copy of that. Somebody will know. Maybe maybe I should have done a little bit more homework. I could have Mark would have been able to tell me. He was there. He probably had somebody recording it too. But yeah, compared to like Live Without a Net, the best part of Live Without a Net for me was the comic relief of Michael Anthony's bass solo. But yeah, I mean, that wasn't really my prime era of Van Halen. I didn't hate it, but I mean, come on, it's no contest with Animalize Live. That was a new Kiss, a new attitude. Like, it was cool. I mean, come on. That's who wins. Who dares wins. There's your little Crazy Nights minutia trivia there. Yeah, I love your fat humbug. I love your air escaping. The air escaping from your lungs. All right, so moving on to April 20th. What is your favorite Kiss album released in your lifetime?
And it's the same thing.
Yeah, do you have the same answer that I wrote down?
Kiss Alive.
Yeah, there you go. Luckily, we're
in that lifetime.
We predate Kiss, so yeah, every Kiss album has been released in our lifetime, and
Kiss Alive.
Yeah, there's
the one.
I guess favorite. It's so in some regards it's hard to name a favorite, but I was thinking about how I would put the guardrails on the definition here is that. If you're being banished to a desert island and you're only allowed to have one album, one Kiss album, which one do you choose?
It's a 2-record set.
Yeah, I don't think the genie that's banishing me to an island would get me on a technicality.
Okay.
But that's what I would say. I've always said that, like, if I could only have one artist, that it would be Zappa, simply because he, in his lifetime, released like 70 albums, and now I think he's been dead for what is it? What has he been dead for 32 years now? Jeez, that's crazy.
I was told there'd be no math.
Jeez, but look, now there's somewhere like around 100 or 110 Zappa releases. Posthumously. But yeah, like yeah, as far as Kiss goes, that's the album I gotta have with, man. I love you, Dress to Kill, but you're short like Van Halen too. That's not gonna.
Like Dress to Kill? Yeah. Well, dude,
Yeah.
it is short.
It is. I feel like those albums are within a minute or two of the same length.
No.
But yeah, that's Alive that's the one you gotta show people that aren't Kiss fans. You gotta lay that
Turn
one
them
down.
onto that. All right.
April 21st. Happy birthday, Marge and Peewee. Oh, hey, didn't I already?
You said.
Yeah,
Birthday,
I'll wish her a happy birthday again. And it kind of ties into this. I think Rick designed it that way. Have you ever named a pet after something Kiss related? If so, what and why? And my answer was my husky pup, Peewee, because he had black Catman eyes. I don't have a picture of Petey, but I'll put one here so you can see that he kind of had he had Catman eyes. He had a little mask.
My Schmoopy does too, and
should we put a little picture of
Schmoopy
right here? Yeah.
Schmoopy. I almost named her like Peter Chris, but I was like, no.
Did you say you were thinking
Lydia or Beth? Nah, she's a Schmoopy. Schmoopy.
Yeah. It's a name and an adjective. Princess is over there being kind of elusive. I thought he was going to make an appearance a little bit earlier.
He's chilling.
Oh, he's just chilling. It's a short episode, or maybe it isn't. Maybe we've rambled longer than is humanly necessary. I just want to thank you for hanging out with us again this week. Please put your two lips together and kiss that subscribe button. Remember the wise words of the barbarian.
Play hard.
Play fair.
Nobody hurt.